Hello FIU family and friends, this is Tomas Alcala with FIU in Washington, D.C. And I'm here to present the first ever episode of Panthers on the Presidency, where we will be interviewing FIU alumni and friends of the university who are in the political arena and asking them about their opinions on the current presidential election. Now, Election Day is on November 8th, which means we are 8 weeks away until we decide who our next president will be. But that means that we are also 8 episodes away from the final rendition of Panthers on the Presidency. And so with that being said, here to join me on the first ever episode of Panthers on the Presidency is Cruz from the Libre Initiative, someone who I'm proud to call a fellow FIU alum and friend. Stephen, thank you for joining me today and for hosting me at the Libre headquarters.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Hey, FIU. We're real excited to join Panthers on the Presidency today, the day of the first presidential debate. It's exciting times to be in Washington, and I'm sure as you're watching this, you want to know what's happening, what's going on, and what's going to come out of November 8th. So let's get to it.
Yeah, so before we begin, Stephen, if you don't mind providing us with a bit of background on what the Libre Initiative is exactly and what it is that you do here.
Sure. So I'm the digital director and a spokesman for the Libre Initiative, which is the nation's largest Hispanic outreach group advancing free market ideals with the belief that less government intervention drives prosperity and that freer people are able to make better decisions for themselves.
Wonderful. So let's get right to it. Now, recent reports seem to suggest that Donald Trump is doing a bit better with Hispanics. Now, mind you, he's still doing quite poorly. But nonetheless, it seems that he's narrowed that gap a bit. And so conventional wisdom typically indicates that in order to win the presidency, a presidential candidate needs about 40% of the Hispanic vote to win. And that number fluctuates depending on who you ask, but more or less it hovers around that 40 percentile. And so I'm curious, Stephen, do you think Donald Trump has a chance at getting close to that number or even narrowing that margin significantly? And does that even matter at this point for the Trump campaign in terms of their strategy to secure victory?
Sure. So the 40% comes from the number that President Bush hit with the Hispanic electorate when he was running for president. And not being privy to the details of the Trump campaign strategy, I can't really tell you whether that matters to them or not. But polls are finicky things because one day a candidate's up, another day the candidate's down. What's most important here is to look at the states that are swing states. And so we're talking about Florida, so it's really important that our FIU family get out and vote. We're talking about Nevada, we're talking about Ohio, we're talking about these states where all of a sudden there's larger and larger Hispanic electorates. And so whether it's 40% or not, the fact of the matter is the Hispanic vote is extremely important. And it's been floated about a bunch of times that the road to the White House runs through the Latino community. I believe that that's true 100%, and that's part of the work that Libre is doing here, trying to incentivize people to get out and vote, trying to make sure that people have the information that they need to make informed decisions, because at the end of the day, this is a crucial moment for any election, for any campaign, but for the nation as a whole.
Great, so let's shift our focus here to what I'm sure is on everybody's mind. As you are fully aware, tonight is the first of 3 presidential debates between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and there's still a lot of undecided voters out there, particularly in Florida. There's a lot of undecided voters. And so I'm curious, do you think that these debates will be the sole deciding factor for these undecided voters heading into Election Day, or will they have a minimal impact given the amount of exposure and the amount of scrutiny that these candidates have already fallen under through this rigorous election cycle?
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Scrutiny has been at an all-time high. Like, we know more about these 2 candidates than any other candidate before, period, end of story. That being said, people are smart, especially because the majority of voters that are undecided or still on the fence happen to be millennials. And even then, a large part of those are Hispanics. We're an overeducated, highly engaged demographic where policy proposals and ideas matter. The messenger is important, the message is paramount, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the stuff to back up what you're saying, I don't think that people are going to fall for stories and ideas anymore. The debates are going to be the first instance where we see kind of like this meeting of the minds and these ideas kind of come to a head, and we'll see what comes out of that.
So what does Hillary Clinton need to do tonight and in the debates ahead to secure a path to victory?
she needs to prove herself to be a trustworthy, competent individual who can deliver a clear vision and a path forward for the country.
What about Donald Trump?
Donald Trump needs to also showcase a clear vision for a path forward, but he needs to do it in a way that's sympathetic. Look, Jack Lew used to say that nobody cares what you know until they know how you feel. And that's 100% true. And that's a problem that both candidates, I think, seem to have. We don't really know where they stand because every other day we see a different policy stance or a different position from either of the camps.
So, Stephen, you know we ask the hard-hitting questions here. Questions that are on everybody's mind, certainly on my mind. I'm going to give you a scenario here. You're going to have to play along, all right?
Okay.
So, if Donald Trump were a music artist, what genre of music would he play?
Huh. You know, being from Miami, right? We have a lot of music and a lot of culture back home, and I definitely think that Donald Trump would be a DJ spinning EDM, you know, something with not a lot of words and like you don't really know what's going on, but somehow you find people kind of bopping along to the beat. That's kind of where I see him.
I can definitely see that. And so what about Hillary Clinton?
Dang. I think Hillary Clinton is like that folksy, soft rock Americana thing that never took off.
Alright, well, to that end, Stephen, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for joining me today on the first ever episode. You are the inaugural interviewee of Panthers on the Presidency, and we hope to have 7 more leading up to the elections. But until then, for our followers out there, be sure to tune in next week, as I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about given the aftermath of this presidential debate tonight. But until then, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.